What we have here is a rather straightforward question. It is only that it's a medium difficulty because it is well camouflaged, as in the odd statement is somewhat well camouflaged. It is hidden. So it seems like it's well placed and it seems like it connects with the context, but it actually goes different. We'll see about that. Now, we see that the sequence here, the sequence of statements begins with D. Yet again, it's not necessary to sequence the statements in an odd statement question, in an odd statement parajumble, but having a sequence might help. So we see that the context is introduced in D, which says, though long after the West, low-range neighborhood radio is finally set to trigger new trends, as we see in other statements in our country. Here, we bring in the context of low-range neighborhood radio. Neighborhood radio, community radio, that is the key concept here, the key premise here. Next up, we have statements. Let's just read the statements in order. Let's not try to find a sequence. We find it here. A says, if the Union Cabinet approves a note to be placed before it within a fortnight, community radio will be a reality in India. So we are talking about community radio here, neighborhood radio, low range radio, and then we are talking about community radio here. Because as such in India, we don't have national radio stations, but some of them, yes, some of them are national radio stations. There are statewide radio stations, but that said, we don't have community radio, as in low range, small scale community radio. And this essentially is talking about radio stations of various educational institutes. This idea is brought forth in the following statements. B says, according to a report prepared by experts from the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, it is feasible to provide educational institutes with their own radio stations on the basis of available technology. So educational institutes can have their own radio stations and the technology exists. The technology to do this, to achieve this feat, it exists. Every institution should have its own radio station. So yet again, this reinforces the idea. And we already have the technology, as we've seen in B. Then we come to F, which says all IITs, IIMs, universities, and residential schools can make use of it, which will make campus life livelier, reported TNN. So here also we are talking about institutions, educational organizations, and these can make use of it. It is generalized, but we can see that it is referring to community radio, and this would make campus life livelier. But understand that this is not a realistic scenario right now, not a real scenario right now. The technology is available and educational institutes can have their own radio stations. But this is something which is not done right now. We see that it is only projected. It is stated here, every institution should have its own radio station. And the reason is given in F is because it would make campus life livelier. And then also, this is still pending approval. Look at statement A. If the Union Cabinet approves a note to be placed before it within a fortnight, then community radio will be a reality in India. And in this, we find that E is the most different statement. E is the odd statement, because E tells us, asked about the project, HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar sounded enthusiastic about it. Now, the HRD minister sounded enthusiastic about it, makes sense, but asked about the project seems to suggest that this is something which already exists or it is in the plans, but it is still pending approval. And there is no plan for this, because if this note is placed within a fortnight, is placed before the Union Cabinet within a fortnight, then this thing will be a reality in India. So it is still pending approval. There is no such project which exists right now, as we see from the rest of the statements. The rest of the statements, they clearly talk about a future scenario that yes, India is now ready for low-range neighborhood radio. It is set to trigger new trends, but it has not done so yet. So we cannot say that there is a project which exists right now. And so the mention of the phrase the project, when asked about the project, HRD minister, that phrase is a distortion. It has a slightly different timeline as compared to the other, the rest of the statements. So we have eliminated A, B, C, D, and F. We have qualified E because it is the most different from the rest of the statements. That is the correct answer.